Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another episode of the Third Fleet podcast. I actually don't remember which episode number it is, and I would very quickly look it up. I think it's going to be 57, but let me just very quickly do it live because, oh my God, I'm even listening to myself and 50. It is 57. I'm pretty sure it's 57. Yeah, it's 57, okay? How are you doing, Gaijin?
Watch, it's going to be 58 and people are going to be so confused.
No. It's 57 because the latest episode is 56. We had to skip a week.
Oh, yeah. We skipped a week, yes.
I mean, this is the second time we skip a week in 2022. Actually, it might even be the third time. I don't know. We've had a couple of skips, but you guys also need to understand there's just not a whole lot to talk about in terms of Monster Hunter right now because there's not a whole lot of news. We kind of exhausted a lot of the topics in previous podcasts. We talked everything from stuff that we want to see to music to everything and then some.
Everything, yeah.
I actually posted up a topic over on YouTube asking people like, hey, what would you guys like us to talk about? I have a bunch of questions from you guys here. Not all of them, obviously, and we're probably not even going to be able to go through all of the ones that I have here because, knowing the way that me and Gaijin tend to blabber on, it's going to be completely wild. But
fun fact, we were going to do this the other day, and we had to cancel it. Because my brain was not in the world of Monster Hunter, and there was only one thing on my mind at that point. So
yeah, we actually intended to record yesterday, and Gaijin was telling me, "Oh man, I'm in the final zone of 14," and it's like I'm so close, and I was like, "Okay, well let's just finish 14." So that you can get that out of your system and just be happy about the story. And I don't even remember how long ago it was that I started teasing you about 14. This was a while ago, and you're like, "Nah, it's just not for me. It's just not a game for me."
Yeah. What's really funny, I was looking through our old correspondence, and there was a message of me telling you how much I loved Tokiden Kiwami, and that I was already on my New Year's break, and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm having such a blast." You're like, and I just beat the story, and you're like, "Good, more time for FF14." And then I'm like, "No, man, I still have the online stuff to do." And you're like, "Dude, you promised." I was like, I said, "Ruri, I've got 2 weeks still of off time. Like, I'll get to it." And then you're like, "That's not a lot of time, man." I was already within 2 weeks. I was already almost at the end of Heaven's Word at that point.
Yeah. So
yeah, not a lot of time, man. You don't know how bad I get. Now you do.
It's just funny for me to remember that because I had to kind of guilt trip you into it, and then shortly afterwards I was feeling the guilt of oh no, this is his first MMO. This is it. I've just ended his life because you got.
I would have never given in if the whole soul sacrifice thing didn't happen. That's where you earned some real estate with me, and some. So you took out some deposits in the trust, and you put in some deposits, and then you did a withdrawal, and you said, "Okay, now you've got to play 14." I'm like,
and it's
I don't play online games, man.
I'd say I got a return on my investment. Would I be right?
And I'm looking at my PS5. Like, well, I am playing on the PS5, and it is free, so fine. You know what? New Year's break is the only time I have dedicated time for it. I'll give it an honest shot. And I dragged my feet. And it was rocky for the first day or two, but after that, man, it was holy crap.
So
it's been an intense 50 days.
I've stated multiple times, guys, this eventually me and Gaijin will do a dedicated 14 discussion that will probably be on a separate channel because I know that most people here, you guys are more interested in Monster Hunter Souls and stuff like that. We'll talk about that too, but really quickly, because I one of the things that I always hear people say, and now I'll put the question towards you, Gaijin, which is people always tell me I want to try it out, but nothing is worth the monthly fee. That's what a lot of people tell me, and it's it's very easy for me to just tell them it's definitely worth it, even if you don't play past Heaven's Word.
How much is the monthly fee? I don't even know because I just bought it. I didn't even think about it.
It is 13 euros for the normal or 10. Well, I don't know how much it is in dollars. I think it goes 1-to-1, but I'm not sure. But it's 13 euros a month normal. Then if you buy like a 6-month thing, it's like €10. But there's a more limited version where you can only have one character per server, and that's €10. And you only need one character per server because you can play all jobs.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
But
it's like the price of 2 games a year, not even.
Yes. But it's like, but here's the thing. What I tell people is like, listen, it's worth it for you to just play the trial, which the trial's not active right now, but it's probably going to be coming back soon.
That's what I'm going to wait for before I start doing vids. But yeah, I think it's worth it just to do.
Just to do Heaven's Word.
Hundreds of hours. Yes. Yeah, you can just do Heaven's Word, because at that point, you will know if it's the love of your life or not. You would have already gone through everything, and it's like you'll get several hundred hours for free. So it's like you don't have to pay a subscription. You have absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But,
and then comes the other question, which is, but knowing what you know now, do you think that monthly fee is worth it or not?
I've only been a paid subscriber for like 3 days. And I just beat Endwalker. I just got my first subscription gifts like 2 days ago. I'm a paid user, because when you buy the game, you'll also get like a 30-day subscription with it. So that with the trial, because the trial brought me all the way through the base game and Heaven's Word, which is like almost half all the content. I mean, that's like a third. It's a lot. Yeah, that was kind of funny. So is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, I bought half a year, and I will say right now, as long as I have the money, they've earned my subscription for the next 10 years. I'm just going to keep subscribed to it. I'm not even going to think about it.
Oh, man.
I think, at least at this point, I think it's going to be worth it, but I've never chased this game live, so I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. But, once I get the house, because I'm going to get a house soon. I'm going to make the miracles happen. Everyone's telling me it's impossible. It's going to happen. And then at that point, keep
one thing in mind, which is like, if you buy a house on Spriggan, that house only exists on Spriggan.
Yeah, but if I leave Spriggan, then I can't play with you anymore. Yeah, and that would suck.
I'm just letting you know.
I mean, so I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah. But that's just the quick Final Fantasy XIV update. We'll eventually, like I said, we'll do like a full on discussion about this in the other channel that I have. But for now, we're going to be returning over to the world, the land of Monster Hunter. I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West, and this is a topic that some people ask me about. Like, is Forbidden West kind of like the open world Monster Hunter in a way? Because you hunt the machines and stuff, and it's not exactly Monster Hunter, but there's definitely inspiration from Monster Hunter, because like I've mentioned in my review, I did interview the devs, and they did say that they took inspiration from Monster Hunter. And having played through, having Horizon still fresh in my mind, there are things that I would like to mention that I feel like Monster Hunter could learn from them, particularly when it comes to elemental stuff. They do elemental exploits so well, and
that's like the worst part of Monster Hunter is the elemental balance is so bad.
Yeah, it's like, because ultimately 9 times out of 10 you're just better off just go raw damage, and unless you're playing like dual blades, bow, and maybe insect glaive at this point. I don't even know. But there's a couple of weapons that can kind of like get away with a little bit of elemental damage. And even then, it's only like on very specific matchups, right? And the way that it works, for those of you that never played Horizon, is, for instance, you have most of the elemental stuff is done through either bows or other types of weapons that will give you like elemental effects. But you can basically build up all of the elements. They're kind of like ailments. So you can build up a fire thing, and then the monster burns. You can build up corrosive thing, and then not monster machine, and the machine like is corroded, and it takes additional damage, and the armor parts get broken off more easily. There's a bunch of stuff like that, but the reason why it's so satisfying is because you can look at the machines, you can identify, okay, there's this canister here that if I shoot it with fire, then this machine's going to explode and detonate and spread fire all over the place. And it's just things like that are things that I really wish the Monster Hunter team would think about, because elemental damage is always such a frustrating thing to me, because I want to play elemental, but there's no reason to, and in most situations at least. And usually, in most weapons, going out of your way to get elemental damage ends up in a net damage loss, particularly in the way that like critical element works in Rise, which is so bad. It's like, and people ask me sometimes, and I don't know the exact maths behind it. Do you know the maths behind critical element, the exact percentages or whatever?
I think it was only 25, right? Wasn't it? Instead of where the like crit boost is 40%, and this is capped at like 15 or 20 or 25. I don't know, but it's bad. It's not good.
I think
especially because it's hard to put on. So it's like not only good, and that was the same in Iceborne. It's like you're gonna make it hard to get, and then you're gonna like make it kind of like the, like come on.
Yeah, I feel like elemental damage is definitely something that the team still has to work on. I don't think that is going to be something that is going to be getting addressed in Sunbreak. Would you think that is the case?
No. I don't do that. But I do hope that that's going to be a Monster Hunter 6 thing, where they're finally going to embrace the elements. Because, I mean, they have the nice living, breathing world. They've got a more organic structure. So it would be, and interacting with the environment, it would be nice for them to really start thinking about elemental stuff, because that ultimately becomes the base of all the variations of the monsters, right? Is elements and status. So it'd be nice.
Yeah, but
yeah, it'd be kind of cool, like if I'm just thinking like there might be ways that they can make the status elements interact with elements. Like, can you imagine like like if you're stunned, or if a monster's stunned, that you would imagine that. I guess that wouldn't work because lightning is what stuns you, but I would imagine there has to be a way to knock you out of it, like with blast or something. I don't know. There's got to be something. I haven't thought about it deeply. I just know that the current system is lackluster, so.
Yeah. Even just something like, I was just thinking right now about the system that they utilize in Soul Sacrifice, where you can achieve, say, for instance, Infernal Hell by just spamming fire spells, and then you can achieve like an elemental break by using an ice spell after you achieve the thing. And then there's also, because like they have all of these different elements and ailments and Soul Sacrifice as well, and each of them has like a counter element. So for instance, if you get something zapped with lightning, you would then hit it with stone, because stone beats lightning and that would like break it. Or you would get something poison and then you would burn it with fire, because fire destroys poison, and then that would get broken. It'd be cool to have something like that, because again, it would give you a reason to figure things out with your friends, and be like, okay, so I'll bring fire, you bring ice, I'll get him to burn, and then when I burn him, you're going to go in and it's like blam, Or it might happen the other way around, like depends on who has the most like element. Like say somebody would have, the other guy would actually have more ice, so ice would proc first and then the fire would destroy it, and it would be kind of like a neat little thing to actually do that. There are some monsters that have an interesting mechanic kind of like that, not exactly like that. So like Alberoth, I don't know, I think it's water to clear the mud and then ice to actually deal damage on the monster, or fire to deal damage on the monster, something like that. So
yeah, the water clearing the hard clay is really fun.
Yeah,
shooting
exactly.
Water pods at it. Pew, pew, pew.
So there are some interesting mechanics that they've experimented with, but not really. I'm
not expecting that for Sunbreak. No way.
Yeah. Sunbreak is, for anyone that was expecting elements to be completely redesigned for Sunbreak, we don't expect it. It might happen. We might be surprised. Never say never. But it's not something that we would expect. But we would want the team to start looking more closely at elements come Monster Hunter 6. Because right now you look at the weapons tree and it's like 80% of weapons, they're worthless. They're just not there doing anything. Like I crafted all the gun lances on the Switch version. I'm not going to use them. It's like I use like 3 gun lances from the tree and then a bunch of like Rampage gun lances. That's it. It's just like,
yeah,
that's just the way that goes. But yeah, we hope to see elemental shifts, but that is not going to be something that's going to be happening on Sunbreak. I received a lot of questions about Lost Ark. I don't think that you're in the know in regards to Lost Ark, Gaijin. All you got to know is that the reason why people are asking me about it is because there's a class in Lost Ark that is the Gun Lancer. which is actually, as far as I can tell, literally taken from Monster Hunter. Like they're just like, yep, this is the because it's a gun lance through and through. It shells. They even refer to the attacks as shelling, which is like it doesn't get any more obvious than that. But yeah, it's a really fun thing. I played it for a while, but Lost Ark is not going to be for me because I looked up some videos in terms of how grindy that thing gets. And in order for you to reach endgame in full, like free to play, just like playing for free without actually putting any money in it, because it's a free to play game, it takes you about as much time as a woman giving birth. So I was like, no, I'm not going to be grinding for 9 months to experience the end game. No, I'll pass.
No,
but
you.
I hope that the people that are playing it, I hope you guys are enjoying it, having a blast, and I hope that it is as successful as it can possibly be. It broke records on Steam. It's got like 1.3 million concurrent players at some point on its launch weekend. So that was friggin' fantastic. But those are just like my quick thoughts on Lost Ark. I'm probably not going to be playing a whole lot of it. And then I guess we get into Elden Ring. What are your plans for Elden Ring now that you've kind of finished Final Fantasy XIV, Gaijin? Because a lot of people were asking me as well to ask you about Elden Ring and what your plans are for that.
When does it come out? It's soon, right?
It's
like,
on the 25th. Yeah, it's on the 25th. So it's like 9 days as of this recording is when it comes out.
You know, I wish they would be upfront and let us know when they're going to add in ray tracing. They said it's going to be in a future update. The thing is like the game is going to have those like the frame pacing hiccups that I don't like, right?
Oh yeah.
The thing is like I've played Bloodborne and I've played Souls, and yeah, after you play a game that's above 30 FPS, when you look at it, it's like, ugh! But after like an hour, you know, your eyes start to fill in the frames and everything feels good.
Yep.
I think if I can get a ray trace experience at 30 FPS, like a solid 30, like that would be pretty cool.
You're going to be playing it on the Xbox, right?
Yeah, the Xbox Series X.
So they're adding ray tracing to the Series X? That's been confirmed?
Yeah, Series X and PS5, but at a later date. But to be honest, most of the ray tracing updates for games have been very lackluster. I know Cyberpunk just got it yesterday or today. But it's just a few shadows. It's not that inclusive, and it's but the thing is, like, I just got done with a sprint on Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah,
and I'm a little exhausted, to say the least. I mean, I'm basically at like 500 hours.
Yep, and you still have some stuff left to do, like a couple of raids here and there and whatnot that you're curious about checking out. So there's still some more content there.
Yeah, so I think I need to take it easy for a few weeks. So I don't, and you know, yeah, I don't think I want to jump into another game that I might get obsessive over in the next month or so. So I think I'm going to hold off on it. I'm super excited for it. The good thing is I don't care about spoilers when it comes to Soulsborne games. So like I'll be watching and enjoying everyone's content and anything that you make. Because for me, the Souls games, I know you like the exploration and the discovery, and many people do. I don't.
Dude, to me, that is like everything. Like if somebody spoils something for me in a Souls game, like that will diminish my enjoyment of that game, like by a good 60%. Like not even exaggerating, because like to me, just the sense of discovery is everything. Like not knowing where, because you only get that once. Like after that, you know exactly where things are. You might have missed like one or two things. Like I'll look up stuff after I finish my first playthrough to see particularly if it's zones that I haven't been to, which happens a lot in Souls games. Like I'll beat the game. Like first time I beat the original Dark Souls is like, Painted World of Ariamis? What's that? I've never been there. I have no idea what that is. The Great Hollow? What? I've never been there either. What the
It's so weird. I don't know what it is, but to me, Souls is more of a cinematic experience. Like this, the atmosphere and the vibe and everything is everything. So that in the game feels dangerous.
Yes.
So like it might be anxiety, like going into an area that I've never seen and I don't know,
Everybody gets anxiety.
I'm kind of afraid to even walk around, like, because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And so, there's different ways to enjoy the game, and I think I'm blessed in the fact that I don't. For me, it's not about the story because I'll just end up having to watch Vati videos afterwards, anyways.
Yep.
So
everybody does. Let's be honest. Everybody ends up watching Vati's videos, anyways.
Vati, you could put him on the back of the box as a feature of the game.
Yeah.
Look forward to videos by Vati Vidya because he's awesome. So I don't think I'm going to touch it for a while, but I just wish I knew what was happening because most games right now, the updates, when they say it's coming at a later date, they're talking like a year away. Like even Minecraft doesn't have ray tracing yet, and that's going to be the most mind-blowing thing.
I mean,
when they do finally
it does, just not officially. It's had it for a while.
Well, no, it's official. It's on RTX, but it's on PC.
Yeah,
I want it on the Xbox Series X, so because we've played it, and it is mind-blowing. Like that is, I will buy a second Series X when that comes out if they can release it. So you can have the best experiences. We'll get 1,000 hours out of that. It's so cool. I felt like a little kid again. Like it was unbelievable.
All right,
I don't know if they can make it work.
I feel like you are to RTX as I was to HDR when HDR came around. Like RTX, I'll be real, like what I've seen of RTX so far has not really impressed me all that much because a lot of games will use certain things in their lighting engines that are not RTX. Like for instance, definitely Horizon Forbidden West did this. It has some zones that are impressively well lit, and I don't know if it's RTX. I don't think it is. I'm not sure. No. But it's like, I just feel like so long as they do lighting right, I don't really miss RTX that much. Whereas HDR is a completely different thing to me. Like if you give
I'm
me
the opposite.
HDR.
For me, have you tried Minecraft RTX?
No.
Oh my God. Your brain will explode.
I know, like people have told me a lot about the RTX. It's like the thing is, Minecraft.
No, you could sit there inside of a. I just put down little blocks and I put a torch in there and I started giggling like a kid.
Yeah, I know.
Just it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like the thing to me is that Minecraft has never been a game where I cared about the visuals. Like I just like the basic experience. I don't need like super 4K HD. Like if I was to start playing Minecraft right now, you want to know which platform I'd like to play it on? It'd be the Switch.
Yeah,
because like I don't need the visuals. Like I just like playing Lego for grown-ups. That's what I like. It's Lego for grown-ups.
Well, when the Legos start, there's interaction with the pieces. It's so fun to start making stuff.
Yeah.
Because depending on where you put it, it changes everything. It's so fun just making atmosphere and just playing around because it's still cartoony as hell. So I love it. But to me, HDR, I still don't.
I love HDR. The color difference to me. In
I mean, the vibrancy is
not,
there, but it's like it's still dark. It's so dark.
I don't know. I don't even know if Elden Ring has HDR because I've been steering clear of literally everything. I know that there's been preview builds posted and stuff like that, and I'm just like, completely away. Like, look, I did the network test, and I'll be real. I almost wish I hadn't done it because the network test was so big. It was huge. There's so much stuff to do in the network test, and that's already kind of like been spoiled for me. Kind of. It's not really spoiled because I experienced it firsthand. But it's like when I eventually do my blind playthrough, which I will, it's like I'm gonna know all that stuff already, and I can already see the comments because people always like, you said this is a blind playthrough, you already know everything. It's like, well, yeah, this was in the network test. It's not my choice. I wanted to cover the game. It's like, But
yeah, so you'll see me on your streams, and I'll be interacting with the content. I'm gonna love seeing it because I'm gonna enjoy playing it when I get it. Because also, that I guess I can't say this anymore, that I'm not into open world games because I suppose Final Fantasy XIV is an open world game. I suppose not really.
Kinda.
It doesn't feel like one.
Yeah, I know, because it's sectioned off into zones, right? So it doesn't feel as open worldy. It feels more like JRPG than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. You're just on an airship running around. So I get overwhelmed like crazy when there's too much to do, and I end up literally just not playing the game, which is for someone who just blitzed Final Fantasy XIV. That's kind of a funny thing to say, but it's the illusion. It's the commitment and feeling that you get when you go into a space that has it's so vast.
The thing was, let's also realize you were heavily guided through 14. Not guided in terms of like watching guides, but guided in terms of here are the fun attractions of this theme park, Gaijin. This is the attractions that you should ride on, and all of these other little things. No, you leave those behind. Don't worry about those. And where is it like if
but
you're
that's what I like. That's the advantage of playing a game not on release date is
exactly
to not have to have. So I don't need that discovery. I do like it from Monster Hunter to an extent, but even that's a game that I'm gonna face each monster so many times anyways that it's fine.
But it's like that is also a part of open world games where, when it's a new game and you just jump in there. And for a lot of people, this is an interesting thing, which is I think that for a lot of people, you say, for instance, you jump into an Assassin's Creed, you go to one of the towers, and it's like, boom, here's like 20 different things that you can do. That to me is actually a turnoff a lot of the times because I already know that out of those 20 things, like 15 of them are probably not that interesting, right? And you're just like, that's the thing about open world games. It's easy to get overwhelmed and you want to do everything, but at the same time you start thinking, I probably shouldn't though, because a lot of these are just here to do busy work or something. Yeah. And it's good if you already know.
I like to be an efficient gamer. I'll put it that way.
But the thing is, like with Elden Ring, I don't think that is going to be a problem because I feel like, at least from the network test, all of the things that were there to do. For starters, the map is not like, oh, here's like a million markers of all the things you can do, right? Yeah. For starters, it's not like that. But then on top of it, all of the little events that I took part in, all of them felt significant in the network test. So I think Elden Ring is not going to be a traditional open world game. It's just going to give you choice in terms of what to tackle first and what to focus on first and what to come back for later and whatnot. So we'll see how that works out. But that's the Elden Ring section. Then we also have the whole thing about the Capcom Countdown that a lot of people brought to my attention. Yes. I've seen a lot of websites reporting that it's probably going to be a Street Fighter thing. I don't think it's going to be a Monster Hunter thing because it wouldn't make... Because a lot of people are like, Rurikhan, you seen the Capcom Countdown? It's probably a Monster... And it's like, I highly doubt it's a Monster Hunter thing due to the simple fact that, like, look, we're almost coming up on spring, which is when they're going to start their marketing push for Sunbreak. And it would almost be like self-sabotaging if at the same time you're teasing another announcement for another Monster Hunter title. I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
No, so a month away from spring still.
Unless they decided to make the marketing campaign early and that thing is going to reveal to be like Sunbreak stuff, then I could see it, but I highly doubt it.
Look at the font, look at the color palette. Yeah, to me and most Japanese media, everyone's saying, oh, it's Resident Evil.
It's Resident Evil, yeah. The texture...
It looks and feels very Resident Evil, and it's got the little, like, the photo blur, like it's not quite in focus. It's kind of... lower res. I would put my money on a Resident Evil 4 remake, because they love putting Resident Evil 4 and everything. It's just one of those games that they love, and other people love as well, I guess. Uh-huh. And they did RE2, RE3 remakes, so it would only make sense. So, yeah, I think or either that or maybe it's a DLC for Village, like an expansion or something. I don't know, but I'm expecting it to be Resident Evil, so I'm not going to be really tracking that.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about Resident Evil either. So, guys, I wouldn't be expecting the Capcom Countdown to be like a big thing in terms of Monster Hunter. So, just be aware of that. We'll be happy to be proven wrong, as per usual. We don't really care that much about whether we're wrong or we're right. It's more like, hey, if there's new Monster Hunter stuff, that's great. That's fantastic. We're here for it. But those were the main topics that I kind of like had to go through. We've been circling the news and seeing anything that's new. There haven't even been new. PC hasn't caught up with events either, which I thought was kind of weird. I figured by now we'd be caught up with events. Do we know when PC is getting the rest of the events that...
I've been so out of the loop. I don't know, actually.
Yeah. And they said February, but I don't know exactly when in February because I've been waiting because I want to stream those events on PC as well and advance my save a little bit more. But ultimately, there's just I'm just like chilling, using my gun lance, long shelling now, just trying stuff out and getting ready for Sunbreak mostly because I still have to do like all of the quests on PC that I haven't done, and I still need to grind some more materials out and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm probably going to be playing on both. For people have been asking me, I'm probably going to be end up playing on both. Like maybe if there's early access, maybe I'll play the early access on Switch and then stream it on PC. But I don't know, I'll figure it out. But I'm probably going to play on both. We'll see how that turns out. But we have a lot of community topics here to go over. I'm sorry if we don't get to your topic specifically. We pulled a lot of them, and I try to pull things that we haven't necessarily talked about in previous podcasts. There might be stuff that we still repeat because, my memory's not all there. I'm 40 years old at this point. I'm way too old. Nah, it is what it is. So the first one comes to us from Rockslim. I'd like you guys to talk about the non-combat aspects of Monster Hunter and where it should go. Does it need to go full survival, like Don't Starve Together? Does the farm need to be more involved, like Story of Seasons? Does the story need to be The Witcher? What are we here for, and at what point does the farm or survival game get a little bit too much?
I mean, Capcom's been slowly killing off the survival aspect in each game, so yeah. I think it's pretty clear they're moving towards this is an action game.
Yeah,
and as they do it, sales are getting better and better, so I don't see them pulling back from that at all.
So when the question comes to does it need to go full survival like Don't Starve? Definitely not. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you right now, if it goes full survival like Don't Starve, I will lose a lot of interest in it because like Don't Starve is one of those survival games where there's like
What's
five.
Don't Starve?
Don't Starve is a 2D game where basically it's all about survival, and it's one of those games that's got like say 4 or 5 gauges. Like one of them is hunger, the other one's your sanity, the other one's like. And you basically have to constantly scrounge to make sure that all of these bars are full or your character starts going crazy, your character starts losing health, and it's like that. No, I don't want that. That's way too much maintenance for a survival game. I'm not a huge fan of those types of games, so I definitely hope
I'm the one who celebrated the removal of the hot and cold drink, so don't look at me.
We're standing on very opposite fields when it comes to that, for sure.
So but, you're in one end, I'm on the extreme other, I think.
Yeah,
so.
It's like I think that hot and cold drinks should definitely come back. I think they add to my personal immersion. I know that a lot of people disagree with that, but I would like that to come back. And I think that Monster Hunter...
I don't disagree with that, by the way. It does add immersion. I just don't think it's worth the frustration that I get from it. It's a payoff thing. But the immersion is fantastic. It's like the oxygen when you're underwater. Like,
yes,
really good for immersion, but is it worth it? I don't know. It's debatable.
I mean,
depends on what you like.
I'll give you an example. In Horizon, for instance, you have an oxygen gauge at the very start of the game, and after you do a certain quest, it's just gone. Now you can just breathe in the water forever. Don't worry about it. So it's like, I think that some developers would agree with you. Yeah, this oxygen stuff is annoying. We don't want to deal with it. But it's like, I don't know. I like the additional immersion because it always goes down to at which point do you stop, right? It's like, I mean, you can think of, well, having to eat for stamina, that's boring too. That's maintenance. Having to sharpen my weapon, having to sharpen my weapon, that's also the same thing. And you would probably find people in the community that would be like, well, why don't we get rid of those things as well? And it's like, dude, to me,
I would draw the line there. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but see, it's an easy line to just keep pushing, right? It's like, hey, why? Let's get rid of sharpening. Let's get rid of food. It's like, let's just be Devil May Cry with monsters. And that's not the game that I want.
If I still think that there's an opportunity there that Capcom could do a spin-off series where they focus on, like, make a Monster Hunter MMO. Like, maybe they did this in Frontier, I don't know. But, like, make a modern-day MMO for Monster Hunter. Make it a spin-off. It doesn't have to be the main series. But like I keep thinking like you have all these craft, like imagine you can be a crafter, right? Inside of a town crafting weapons for other hunters, and there's customization things you could do. You can meld parts together. You have multiple monster things. You can have the whole survival thing, the farming thing. Like it would go really well with MMOs because you need lots of stuff to do. Like that I think would be really cool. And you can slowly build up villages and stuff like that. Like but I just don't know what the audience size would be for that. But I think as a spin-off game it could be a cool idea.
A spin-off game where you're basically the village blacksmith.
Or just just like Monster Hunter in a very MMO, like lots of different
so you would want
things in survival and all that kind of stuff.
So you would want actual players that are hunting as well, and then you could take on the role of a crafter at the same time.
Oh, you can do both. I don't know. You swap between them. I don't know, but I don't know. I just think that it would be interesting to see, but I just don't. If Dragon's Dogma Online can't even get a lot of people, maybe I just think going towards action and story driven for dragons is probably like it's probably the same for Monster Hunter. I think it'd be too niche, but I see a small market for it though. It'd be cool.
So in terms of it going full survival, both of us agree let's not go full survival to the level of don't starve. Gaijin's more in line with like, look, what Rise is doing is about right. Yeah, I would say.
Rise for me, yes and no.
Because, I mean, you're like, get rid of the hot and cold drinks, so Rise is kind of like where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I think
I'm good with that.
I think the sweet spot is actually world, and I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback from this because, and I'm talking world like even in terms of mining stuff, because I feel like with Rise, just walking past the notes like, book, I want the investment of actually no. I want if I get to a note, I have to like sit there and like tick 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 for a little bit. I mean, even World is super fast about doing it. If you compare it to like say 3 Ultimate or something like that, right? So
man, the crunchy sound you get when you go into the ores and when you get like the good one and it's like ching, it feels so good. In Iceborne when you're like chunk.
Yeah.
Chunk, ching.
Exactly.
I really like that. That I really enjoyed Iceborne. I thought that was great, but I like the arcadey type experience of Monster Hunter. So to me, I wouldn't want if there was only Rise and there was no other Monster Hunter, I would want it to go backwards a little bit. But because we have 2 flavors, I actually embrace the more arcadey feel of Rise. I think that's how I internalize it.
So ideally for you, it would be like, okay, so I want something more in line with Iceborne for the next game, but then whatever the portable team comes up with, I want that to be more arcadey. Okay, actually, I think that would be I could live with that compromise, but ultimately I want the next one, the main series one, to go more back to the way that World and Iceborne were with actually.
I agree.
Like immersion. three things to get your pickaxes. Like most of the other stuff you can just pick up as you are running anyways. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, and definitely bring to me at least definitely bring back hot and cold drinks and food and the whetstones and all of this stuff. Like I want all of that to remain. The maintenance aspects of the hunt. And if anything, I would almost want a little bit more. Like one of the things that I would love that's never going to happen because you can't put that genie back in the bottle is getting rid of supplies, resupplying on the field. I would get rid of that. Like, or just have like limited supplies that you can ask the guild to take to the camp or something. Like that I can live with. I think ideally the best one is the GU system where you would actually ask them to like send the drop pods in. I think those were cool because you'd like find them in the map and stuff. It's like, oh, there's some drop pods. I can get additional items. Like that is a cool way of doing it because that would involve preparation, which is cool. So that's where I land on that. In terms of the farm, I would like a more involved farm like we had back in Free Ultimate. I think that'd be cool. But I think it needs to be optional because I'm willing to make that concession. So it's like if you min-max the farm like I would want to, then you get more materials. if you don't min-max the farm, you can just have them passively give you stuff anyway, but it will be less than if you do engage with the farm. So it's like the players that don't want to do it don't have to. The players that do want to do it get a couple of more materials and they get to engage more in the preparation aspect. I don't think it needs to be too detailed, but just something in line with what we had in Free Ultimate I think would be really nice, so that you can actually see like your palicos work in the fields and stuff, and you get a couple of mining nodes there.
I'm curious how you feel about this. I want mini games in my Monster Hunter.
Yes,
like, some of the things I've always enjoyed is like the Palico mini games and stuff.
There's a question specifically about mini games. I'm sorry to interrupt. There's a specific mini game question, so we'll get there. We'll talk about mini games.
Okay.
But that's in terms of like farm and stuff. That's where we stand. In terms of the story, does the story need to be The Witcher? No. As a matter of fact, I don't want. No. I don't ever want Monster Hunter to be like a deeply cinematic story experience. I want the story to be there. Yeah, I want the story to be there as a vehicle to kind of like drive us from quest to quest, but not something where it's like, oh, we need to justify why we are attacking this. It's like, no, listen, it's the balance. It's for the good of the environment. Okay,
we're hunting monsters.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know.
Exactly. It's like, look, we got to get rid of this creature because some farmer had to run away from it and tripped in the rocks or something, and now he's got a broken arm because he was running away from this creature, and now we have to go and we have to put it down because it's a dangerous creature. Like that. That's all the reasoning you got to give me.
To me, that's Capcom's strength. Like, if you look back at the other games in their IP, like all the games I've enjoyed of theirs, they're so out there. And there's, again, I use the term arcadey, and I don't know if that's right, but everything feels just really slapstick fun. It's a game. Like Devil May Cry is basically that concept times 1,000. But even stuff like Resident Evil, it's like they're not trying to explain everything. It's like, it's a video game. Like, it's okay. We don't have to explain the stuff. And I think when they go a little zany, that's when they do their best work. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to.
And as a matter of fact, when a game is like too deep into the story, unless they do a really good job of like telling you, here are the replayable things. It's like if they lock too many things behind story aspects and you have to go through cinematics, then it actually makes it less replayable. The more you lock behind a story, the more it makes it less replayable. And I'm saying this as we were talking about 14, where like everything is locked behind story, but you do get to a point where it's like, look, the story is done, and now here's all the repeatable activities that you can do. But yeah, I don't need like a huge mind-blowing story for Monster Hunter. I just want a couple of cool set pieces, and then just send me off to the races to murder a couple of monsters. So
give me some nice set piece, give me some nice waifu, some husbando, and some cute cats, and throw me in there with some funny scenes, and we're all good.
Pretty much good. So next we have, it's actually two questions that I grouped together. One's from Mr. Fahrenheit, another one from EUUX. And they're saying, I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are about this, but going a bit into the whole difficulty topic in gaming in general, what do you think is the relationship between a game's difficulty and people's enjoyment of it? Do you think we've reached the point where only difficult games can hold people's attention, or the other way around? And then UUX builds on that and says, is Rise an enjoyable game? There have been plenty of event quests, but only some are worth playing through, ramping up difficulty artificially by increasing monsters' health and damage, showing heavy bias towards powerful weapons such as bow and longsword. While the less popular and powerful weapons wallow in the shadows, and the less than hopeful expeditions Sunbreak. Okay, so on the EUUX part, it's like, look, I play Gunlance. Like, it's literally the weakest weapon, and I can do any content in the game. So I don't think that we necessarily wallow in the shadows. And I feel like a lot of the times people get mad at me because I meme so much on Longsword. I hope people understand. I don't care if you play Longsword. Like, I'll meme on it and I'll joke on it because it's really powerful. I don't actually care that much. Play your Longsword, play your bows, play whatever weapon you want, whatever is fun for you. But in terms of the difficulty aspect, I think it depends from person to person. Depends on what you are looking for in the game. Not everyone is looking for the most difficult things, which I think one of the good things that they did in Rise with the Akuma quest is that you can do it with the easy Rajang and get the Akuma skin, not have to worry about it.
Or go for the big boy.
or go for the beefy Rajang that's going to basically destroy you repeatedly. Depending on how good you are at the game or what weapon you're using and whatnot. But again, it depends from person to person. Some people want to go in and they just want to, have a reasonable experience. Some people want to go in and they want to be challenged. It also depends from game to game. Like there are games where I want to be more challenged. There are other games that I just want to enjoy the story. So again, there's a huge spectrum when it comes to that. And the specifics of Monster Hunter, for me, I want to try and do the most challenging thing that there is to do. And if I can't do it, like this was something that I actually almost thought I wasn't going to be able to with Fatalis. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to kill Fatalis. I don't know. This thing seems so friggin' hard. But if I don't kill it, I'll be fine with it because I think it's a really good thing to kind of like aspire to. Like, that's cool. But I like the challenging stuff, but, on certain games, I won't go as hard into the challenging stuff. What about you?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't see a reason why in modern game design and budgets that you would have to choose between the two. I think they could have in content that is playable by the vast majority of their key audience and still have things that are difficult, like for the core, like the hardcore players. There's no reason why they couldn't have both. Like you said, like there's ways to work it in.
Yeah.
But I think the baseline is basically if a player has to engage in a system and a grind or something, it takes effort to do something, they need to feel that there's a payoff. And as long as there's enough to make it, okay, I feel I'm happy I went through the effort to make this. I feel like I'm happy I went through the effort of making this weapon. I feel like it's helped me. As long as you get that feeling, I think you're fine. Like some people require more, some people require good quest rewards. Everyone's different. So Me personally, as long as I feel that I'm not wasting my time, like doing something like I did it and it's like completely pointless, I'm just there for the hunt. So like as long as the hunts are fun, I don't even need them to be hard. Like I would, if they took away the health, like put it this way, I'm not saying to do this because I enjoy Monster Hunter how it is now. But if they said, okay, I'm sorry, but we have a quest against this cool monster. It's a really fun fight mechanically, but you can't die. Like you don't have a health gauge.
You can't get hit?
No, well, you can get hit, but you just can't die.
So you have a health gauge,
just no
but
health.
You don't have
no health
cards.
gauge. You get hit.
Oh,
you can't cart.
I'm
you get knocked around, but you can't fail the quest.
Why don't you have a health gauge though? That's weird.
I'm just saying, like, if you take away the health gauge and you can get hit as many times as you want, it doesn't matter. That's basically taking away the difficulty, so to say. But you still have to get in the ring and do the dance, right, in order to get out your hits. I don't even think that the difficulty of the dying is even that necessary of an element for me to enjoy Monster Hunter. It's the dance between me and the monster. It's them doing a big attack, me being able to not get hit by it and to do my combos, and we're both trading blows and knocking each other on the ground. Like, that's fun.
See, one of the points that you touched on was the whole thing about if people are getting rewarded, because this is a feeling that a lot of people have been echoing when it comes to Rise. They just don't feel that a lot of the quests are rewarding because, like, oh, here's a sticker, here's a pose or something, and people want new weapons, new armor. And here's the thing. I think that there's a very fine line to walk when it comes to that stuff because, yes, I think it's important that it'd be cool to have new armors, particularly for the Apexes and stuff like that. I don't necessarily need that motivation to go into the quest. And as a matter of fact, if the armors are just flat out better, I actually would rather what they did with Rise. And again, this is going to be something I'm going to get a lot of pushback on, but it's like, look, I don't want to get into another situation where it's like, here's the Fatalis armor, which literally makes every other armor in the game completely worthless. I never want to see that again. Like, I think it's good when they give you alternate playstyles like, oh, here's this armor that is really good if you want to use the blast element. Here's this armor that is really good if you want to use the ice element. But it's
Bring back negative skills.
Negative skills is also a really good
Bring
thing.
them back.
I think negative skills
back.
were cool. Yeah, definitely. I think negative skills are really cool having to balance those out. Yeah, it's like I don't mind not having a reward at the end of the quest if the quest the whole
is
point of the
fun.
quest is to be challenging, which is what they've did with the Apex emergencies. And a lot of people don't
Yeah.
like those quests. And it's like, that's the best part about those quests is that if you don't like them, you don't have to do them.
You don't have
Because
to go.
you don't get a special armor for doing it. You don't get like the special thing. It's just like, it's just there for people like me that want to go in and just take on the challenge and whatever, right? And I think that's cool. And if anything, I want to see more of those. It'd be cool if they give you other rewards. Like I think that a lot of the Apex emergency quests give you tons of materials and stuff for melding and whatnot, which are really valuable. I don't
You
actually
know what
know.
they should bring back? They should bring back, well, not in the grindy way they did it, but I love the idea in Generations Ultimate where if you beat the really hard monster, you unlock the special coloring for your weapon or your armor for your armor that was a special palette of that monster.
You mean
Like
the Deviant EX fights, right?
Yeah, I thought that was a cool idea. Like this idea of you're taking, like, imagine if you're taking down an Apex monster and your reward is that you can now color code, you can glamour your armor with that specific texture or color, something special that is from that monster. That would be cool. You know, that to me would be enough because, face it, fashion is a very big part of Monster Hunter.
Fashion is the end game, or this is total. You're being influenced by 14 right now, where glamour is the true end game, and you know it. But they kind of
it could just be a dye even.
Yeah.
Imagine if like certain colored dyes drop from certain monsters, like that would motivate you to go out there and try to do it.
they did something similar to that in World with Extremoth, where if you beat Extremoth, you would get the layered armor of Draken, the Draken set as layered. That was the only way of getting it. I mean, that or NPC you could mod it in, but it's like I thought that was a good achievement. It's like, no, you beat Extremoth, you get the title of Warrior of Light, and you get the Draken set. So there's no actual power gains from defeating him, but there are things that show that you've achieved that, which is cool. So next one comes to us from Keldrake, and he's asking about underwater combat in Monster Hunter. Again, it keeps coming up. I think both of us have said at this point that it's like you really want it, right? You really want underwater combat because you play
Yeah, and I
lands.
think that's the holy grail. If they can make it accessible, I think that is the next big thing.
Yeah.
If they can make underwater that's easy to do and fun, that's perfect. I love it, even if like the old system. The immersion of being there underneath the dark caverns, the changing of the audio because you're deep under the water, the huge monsters that have the territorial advantage. There's so much Monster Hunter there, you know.
I've kind of come around on this concept. The thing for me is all about the implementation when it comes to the underwater. Like I'd be okay. I don't think underwater is something that would come in something like Sunbreak, particularly because it's more about verticality and wire bugs, and I don't think that's going to be a thing in Sunbreak. But if the next big entry, if they do choose to do underwater, to me the biggest thing is I just feel like each weapon will need to have a different moveset from when they're underwater, like a completely
I agree.
unique moveset.
Unique.
And one of the things that I think it was Superrad who said this on Twitter. It was on Twitter or in a video or something. He said that it's like it just has to translate the weapon's uniqueness to the underwater aspect as well. So it's like,
because I'm thinking like if they had unique actions, imagine being able to swing the hammer and it helps like push you forward.
Yeah,
really
like
fast.
Thor, Thor, dude, just like woo, it's like yeet yourself forward.
Yeah, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to use the weapons in unique ways.
Yeah, and like for instance,
the water.
The best mobility underwater should definitely go to the insect glaive because you have the little compressed air puffs that he does with it. It goes like poof, poof. You can just like go faster than everybody else with the insect glaive. I think that'd be cool. With the gun lens, I'd be able to blast dash. I just propel myself towards the monster. Like, that's cool. So it's like so long as they nail it in a way where it feels different, but it doesn't feel clunky, which I think is one of the things that happened in 3 Ultimate is a lot of weapons underwater were clunky.
Well, it was
and
the same
probably not
moveset,
good.
right? And they were not meant for underwater. And that's
So
why the Lance was like, okay, I'm spoiled because my moveset just happens to work really good underwater.
yeah.
So it's like easy mode.
So yeah, definitely we're cool with it, and so long as they work it out in a way that each weapon gets unique movesets underwater, so that it works for the underwater combat. But we'll see if they implement it or not in the next big iteration. Then we have one from Obsidian Wing 1. How's it going with you guys outside of gaming? How's life really? How's life, Gaijin?
On the back burner. So if I sound a little out of it in this podcast, it's because I've literally slept, I want to say maybe 5 hours in the last 3-4 days.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a life. I'm going to take that back. That's exactly why I'm not going to be doing Elden Ring when it comes out, because I need a break.
I've claimed Gaijin's life when I got him addicted to Final Fantasy XIV. I got his soul. It's like I'm like Shang Tsung. Your soul is mine.
He's mine.
And me, on the other hand, is like I've just been struggling a little with my kids in school because he's struggling to learn how to read and write. That's the struggles of when your kids start reaching a certain a certain age. Yeah, my kid's level 7. Yeah, my kid's level 7, and now he's trying to learn the RPG skill of reading and writing.
You're trying to get him to do his job quest, but he keeps going around killing ladybugs.
Yeah, he keeps doing side quests instead of doing his job quest, and I'm trying to like set him straight.
Yeah, you got to do your daily challenge log. You got to do your tasks.
Outside of gaming, that's been pretty much my life. It's the struggle of trying my best to teach my child how to read and write, and it's been a real struggle because he really struggles with it. But it is what it is.
And I've been in. This is gonna sound totally random, but for younger people who listen to this, because I know a lot of people are like half our age, floss and brush your teeth. Yes, floss daily. Go to the damn dentist twice a year. I'm not joking, because dentistry in Japan is not the best. And I was afraid to go because of some bad experiences.
Dude, you've told me about your dentistry experience where they have like a friggin' sci-fi chair. They sit you down, nice. They scan everything. The one I found is nice. Yeah, exactly. Dude, no, listen.
But most dentists here are not
spoiled.
Good.
You're spoiled with that dentist you're going to.
All I'm saying is like, I had some bad experiences at dentists in my life, so I thought, well, as long as I floss and I brush religiously, then I won't get cavities. It don't work like that. You gotta go and get the plaque or whatever taken off your teeth, because it will eventually eat through and rot it. Like, it's just how it works. I neglected it.
Go ahead.
No, I neglected it going to the dentist for years, but I was a religious flosser and brusher. Didn't matter, and now I'm paying the price because I've been going and getting every week there's a new cavity, a new cap, a new root canal to do.
I think you're getting scammed, dude. I think it's like microtransactions in video games. They're cleaning you out, dude.
No.
But it's
well, yeah, I've been in a lot of pain because it's been a lot of dentistry, but this is the price I pay for not going. So like my advice, everybody, is don't do the same thing. Like, get your standard cleaning, because there's certain things that they can take off that you can't. Do it now rather than later.
I'm very slackish when it comes to that stuff. So yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, I take his advice for sure. Don't be like me. I don't go to the dentist often. And the one thing that I did, which Gaijin has been going for like 4 procedures. I did in one go. I was just like, make a hole in my teeth, fill it with silly putty, slap me in the ass, and get me out the door. I'm good. Hey, dude, it's been going like this for like 3 years. That tooth's still doing great. Not really a problem so far.
Oh, my God.
Okay. But yeah, that's been our lives. It's like not necessarily the most exciting
Getting
things.
old.
Not necessarily the most exciting things outside of gaming, guys. It's just like, just living life, trying to be responsible.
Yeah, unhealthy habits.
Next up, I have a question that only you can answer. I have no idea what this is. Toasty says, maybe you guys can talk about the treasure hunt mode from the PSP titles and if it could be a meaningful addition to the Monster Hunter franchise as it is right now. The hell's the treasure hunt mode?
Huh?
Treasure hunt mode from the PSP titles. You don't know what it is. Sorry, Toasty. We have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I suspect it's one of the Palico minigames, but that is still in the game. It's just like in Rise, it's the submarines. It's a submarine. No, it's not the submarines. In Rise, it's the Meowcenaries. In World, it was the, what are they called? The Raiders? Riders? I forget. You'd send out your Palicos and they'd go get stuff. But treasure hunt mode? I have no idea what he's talking about.
So this has to be a Freedom Unite thing because that's not something that I did.
Oh, you didn't play Freedom Unite?
Well, I played through it quite a bit, just doing like the main quests, just to experience it, and that was it. Like I didn't really engage with that game hardcore, and I think that might be what it is. It says there's a thing called Treasure Quest in Freedom Unite. He's found in the Gathering Hall. He asks you to gather stuff, and then he gives you stuff for it. I don't know the system. I'm sorry. So maybe.
We don't know what the treasure hunt mode is. I got another one here from Vilkis. What do you guys think about Rampage quests and Rise? Should they return in Sunbreak, elevate it, or introduce a new type of quest, or maybe even a siege? So one of the things that I will say is like, I don't think that Rampage is making at least from a story standpoint, I don't think that Rampage makes sense to come back in Sunbreak because Rampage was caused from a lore perspective. Rampage was caused by Narwa and Ibushi, right? And their undying love for one another. And that is what is causing it. And we beat those two.
You mean hunger, right? The hunger for each other. Well, at least
hunger, the thirst. It's like you got Ibushi, the eternal simp, and Narwa.
Yep. She just want to eat.
She just want to get
delicacies.
Fed. So,
I agree. We talked about this actually the other podcast, but I don't think that. I think Rampage was a fun experiment.
Yeah,
I think it was interesting. But I don't see from both a lore standpoint and also just engagement, I don't see them leaning much into it in Sunbreak.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to not be overly negative on it. It's like, look, you can say something like, I don't like Rampage, but I'm not the biggest fan of Rampage either. Like, I think it was an okay thing to do in between hunts every now and then, and it's actually It's one of the activities that I think is much more fun if you get more people in because you just destroy everything. But even solo, like I said, you have to almost want to lose a Rampage in order to lose it. You have to try hard to lose it almost. So it wasn't challenging enough. And in terms of should they elevate it or introduce a new type of quest or maybe a siege, I think we're probably going to be seeing sieges. I think we're going to see some different form of sieges for Sunbreak. I think that would make sense. Unless they're going to come up with a reason as to, oh no, there's a different kind of Rampage in Sunbreak, at which point it's just going to be like, okay, this for starters doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a story standpoint. No. And on top of it, it was not that great in Rise, so either do it really, really well or you probably shouldn't have bothered with it. So I don't think that Rampage is coming back, but we'll see if that is the case or not. But Siege, I could see a siege, like particularly in terms of a siege. I mean, I don't know if you'd consider Duran Moran a siege, but that's the one that you and me always talk about. It's like Duran Moran would be great. It'd be great to see friggin' what's his face? Atal Cop.
Spectacle hunts, yeah.
Yeah. People were talking about. People were asking for my opinion on the Lamador, and I'm like, I've never fought the Lamador. Sorry.
Lamador is a set.
Listen,
it's a set piece monster. It's fun. It's exciting, but it's not challenging at all. Yuna didn't even come close to carding when she faced it, and it was her first time.
If Capcom acquiesces to the demands of Super Rad and they release a remaster, I'll play for you and I'll fight the Lamador and all the other things, but emulation is not particularly interesting thing for me, and I'm not going back.
I want to do a
3DS.
poll. I'm going to ask people, everyone has great memories of Dalamadur because it was a set piece hunt, right? And there was one. It was the Superman tutorial monster. If you didn't know how to Superman dive, you were wiping. But it was just fun because it was it felt heroic and adventurous, and it was visually very cool. But Shah Dalamadur took it up a level. I'm curious how many people actually engaged with its subspecies a lot, because that is more of a challenge and that is more of a hunt. And my guess is the majority of people are like, oh yeah, it was cool, I did it a few times. I think most people are talking about the memories they have of the first Dalamadur. And I think it comes down to spectacle and mechanics than it is the actual hunt. Like if you gave me wire bugs, unless they completely reworked that hunt, it's broken. It would be boring as hell. Because the whole idea was, being the commitment of like, I'm going to climb up this crag so I can attack his hand, because this is where he's positioned, because he's this huge set piece monster. If I could just zip around, like, it would be pointless.
But I mean, if they give it like the Fatalis treatment, could be interesting.
Maybe.
Like,
I love the monster.
The
like it's big snake. Yes.
Big snake. We have one here from T. Fransk, where he says, and I'm going to rework this question. His question was, what do the non-obvious skills in Rise do, and when would I want them? Well, let me tell you something. For starters, the best one is the jumping. No, wait, what was it called?
Evade distance?
Jump Master. No, Jump Master is the best skill.
That's a meme. Ignore it.
So let me tell you right now. Okay, the Jump Master skill, never use that. It's terrible. It's worthless. I don't know why it's there. I definitely don't know why it's a tier 3 skill. Nobody knows why it's considered the tier 3 skill. It's a terrible skill. I mean, friggin' 269 in Paradise tested it out, and it's basically brace for when you're in the air, except it doesn't work all the time. You can just get brace, and there you go. But like, yeah, no. The one thing that I wanted to rework this into is like, what are skills that people would probably not normally use, and that you think is like one of the skills that people, because you have the meta sets, you got your expertise, your weakness exploit, your crit boost, all of that stuff that people use all the time. So if you could pick like one skill that you would be like, okay, so this is a skill that is not used as much, but it's a really good skill, which one would it be? And I'll tell you mine to start with. Partbreaker. Partbreaker so much. I love it. It's like, it's a skill that doesn't give you a direct advantage in terms of dealing damage, but I just like breaking stuff, and I live for the sound. So if I could give you a non-obvious skill that I think is really fun to use and that I tend to use in most of my sets, it would be that. Another one is probably Wirebug. Not a lot of people probably use Wirebug, I would imagine. I don't know. It depends on the weapon. The reason I use Wirebug is if I'm doing Hail Cutter so that I can just spam Wyvern Fires, or even on regular gun lance, I've been using Wirebug because I get guard edge faster, and guard edge recovers faster than regular blocks. So like if you do a move and then you try to block, you can block faster if you guard edge. So Wirebug becomes like super massive for gun lance.
I guess if I had to pick two, let's say, one feels like it's I think because of Iceborne, it's now a popular skill, but it never used to be, even though it's always been a killer skill, which is stun resistance.
Yes. Stun resistance.
Like most people die because they are stunned.
Particularly,
it is such a good skill.
Particularly in Apex Zinogre. A lot of people, they will die because they get the shock debuff and then they get stunned, and then Zinogre just like destroys them. So if you have stun resistance, that goes a long way. It's also very useful for Kieran because it just negates the Kieran stun. So like very, very good skill. Very underrated. Yeah, stun resistance for sure.
I need sleep. When you said the Kieran stun, I was thinking of like some like middle-aged, irate white lady in a Walmart screaming, and I've got the Karen stun. That's
I should put that in the title of the pod. The Karen stun. I want to see the manager. Oh, I didn't bring stun resistance. The Karen stun.
The second one, I thought everyone used it, and then I realized, after reading a lot of posts, that a lot of people think that it's not good, but I live by it, which is Power Prolonger. For Switch Axe and Insect Life.
Okay.
It is like, well, I can easily grab 3 bugs. Yes, I can also grab 3 extracts very fast. But let me tell you, there's something incredibly liberating and fun and just easier and just better when you don't have to worry about it at all. Because there's always those weird, wonderful opportunities when you get a really good moment to punish, and it blinks and you run out. And you're like, no! Same thing with Switch Axe. Like, your best feel-good moments are when you're jamming away in amped state, and when that goes away too fast, yeah, I can get it back, especially if I'm playing like a Dragon or Poison File type, but like, Power Prolonger level 3 is so good. I never take it off.
See, Gaijin, I would use Power Prolonger, but for some strange reason, Capcom did not apply Power Prolonger to Ground Splitter. So therefore, it doesn't actually do anything for gun lances, even though gun lances have a buff that goes away when you sheath your weapon, and I can't prolong that buff for some strange reason. I'm not even joking. I would use Power Prolong. I thought about it. There was even recently when I was going back to PC, I was like, hey, you know what? I could use Power Prolonger to extend Ground Splitter, and then I realized, no, actually I can't, because you can't do it. It's like, oh, that's great.
And I guess I have to add this, but me and you have been praising this skill since the day we started our podcast, which there's a lot of people who sleep on it, which is Evade Extender.
Oh, dude.
Yes. Like, it is, like, it depends on the weapon, it depends on how you play, but Evade Extender to me is a killer skill. Like, I use it on Switch Axe, and oh my lord, is it good.
And let me tell you guys the secret that I think that maybe some people don't know about still, which is if you've watched me on my stream, then you see that the way that I move with the wire bugs is like, I'll throw the wire bug, and then immediately after I'll throw the wire bug, like after my character's got maximum distance, I'll hit A or circle, or if you're on an Xbox, B. I have to think about all the different configurations now because of the PC. But like, you basically press the left faceplate, the right faceplate button.
You press a button.
You press the button, and your character like hangs on the wire bug, and he gets a little bit of momentum forward, and then you press
you do a
B.
little parkour jump.
Then you press the bottom,
and you get flung
button
into eternity. It's and like someone just
he does the little flip thing afterwards. So basically, the idea is this gives you a lot of momentum, and that little roll that you do in the air is affected by Evade Extender. So if you have Evade Extender 3, you're gonna move a lot more forward momentum than someone who doesn't. So there's bonuses in dodging the monsters, there's also bonuses to traversal, which is why even my gathering sets, they have Evade Extender 3, so that I'm just wire bugging, flinging myself through the whole damn map. So yeah.
It's really great.
Evade Extender 3, baby. Super awesome. Okay, but that's some non-obvious skills in Rise. Next we have Alex Monster Hunter asks, your impressions on Nintendo Direct from last week. Did you get anything that you cared about from the Nintendo Direct?
I don't think so, no.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
There was a lot of games shown, so I'm sure there was good stuff in there, but like, one, I've been so obsessed with
14,
Final Fantasy 14 that like I didn't care so much, and I know that Sunbreak is going to be my life from whenever it's out, so I wasn't looking for anything, so it's like, okay, there's games, that's cool.
So Gaijin, I'm going to need to cash in some more of those trust checks that I left with you.
No, because now you're in the minus.
How am I in the minus? I thought Final Fantasy 14 was good. What do you mean?
Yeah, you ruined my life for 2 months. My daughter hasn't had a father. It's like she's had no parents at home.
Well, I mean,
my sleep schedule has gotten bad.
You have
my
plenty
cholesterol
of time.
has gone up.
you have plenty of time to be a father until September, and then in September you're gonna play Xenoblade.
I still say it's a horrible thing, but it's the same thing with dating. Like, yes, appearances don't really matter because in the end we're all gonna be old men and women anyways, and it's what's on the inside that counts. But there is a certain part of what gets you to get into to meet, not get into somebody. God, that sounds wrong.
Holy crap.
There's
Sleep deprived Gaijin is best Gaijin.
Jesus.
This is a adult themed podcast.
Like it to the instigating event that causes two people to run into each other is usually a visual visual, is that the right word?
Yes.
A visual attraction.
Yes.
So I feel nothing. I kind of look at Xeno and it's just not my. I don't like that art style. To me, it's a turnoff.
Here's the thing.
I don't want to approach.
Xeno 3 looks different from Xeno 2, which Xeno 2 is the one that you don't like.
Yeah, but I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I don't feel anything from that. It's like, okay, cool. There's gonna be a lot of happy people. I've heard it's a very good game.
We'll see.
Good.
We'll see. I have to lay the ground. I have to get to work now, guys. This is how this works. It was the same thing with 14. I have to massage the idea. Anyway, yeah, that's the Nintendo Direct. I mean, I know that Triangle Strategy or whatever, they also showed some footage of that. I think the demo came out of it. I might check that out later, but yeah, that I'm interested in. But
can I throw some shade at Nintendo though? I'm pissed off at them right now.
Here we go.
Well, I'm always pissed off, but did you see they announced that they're going to be shutting down the eShop for 3DS and Wii U? Okay, Wii U, whatever, but then again, it's not costing them that much money to have that store up. But 3DS, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, 3DS is insane that they are shutting down. It's like even that announcement alone is going to burn down their prospective sales on that console, and people are going to start like,
why do they get away with this shit? It's just people really need. It's like if the whole idea was like okay, like making independent games or making, more niche titles became more possible thanks to the digital revolution, that you didn't have to pay all the costs to do the manufacturing. You could just release your game on the eShop. And it doesn't cost them that much money. Come on, to manage those servers, because they're still keeping up the servers anyways because they legally have to let you be able to re-download games that you bought. Only thing that they just don't want to pay transaction fee contracts with
they're legally
American
obligated?
Express and Visa.
They're legally obligated to keep the store up so that you can download.
I would assume there's a term in which they would have to do it because every other store. Well, why would they keep it up?
Yeah, exactly. Why not just shut down the store?
But they do. Yeah, they don't. They always, all these services keep the thing like, well, if you purchased it, we gotta let you re-download it, but you can't buy anything new. I'm like,
it's probably going to be
stupid.
Only for a certain amount of years, I would imagine.
Yeah,
it's not gonna
but then
forever.
You get like, was it credit card payment contracts? They don't want to pay Visa and MasterCard for. Okay, we'll just go ePoints, and just change it so it's gift card only. Like, I don't know. I don't like the idea of them shutting down.
Yeah, it's like I was
looking because I still think the 3DS is relevant. So
yeah, I was looking I just looked up the sales for it, and as of March 31st last year, so it's like almost a year ago at this point, they had sold 75 million units, and this is like March last year. Probably since then, I would estimate another 5 million units at least would have probably been sold because pandemic, people are stuck home. Maybe not 5 million, but another good 1 or 2 million probably have sold. So like maybe 77 million consoles are out there. And this is just like the ones that we know of. So if you round it up for, potentially like some retail sales that are not being accounted for or some stuff like that, you're probably talking somewhere in the vicinity of like 80 million consoles out there that a lot of people are still playing today. And yeah, I think it sucks. And it always brings up the whole thing about game preservation. Because to me, this is a big deal. Because for instance, there's a game that I love and that is only available on the Wii U, which is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like, they never ported that game out of that system. and it's potentially my favorite game in that system. And it's like, come on, dude.
I have to research the dates because I don't want to sound like I'm misspeaking. So like, do your own research, guys. But I did see someone post something like they did something even worse, which is they announced like, okay, we're going to be shutting down the stores like next whatever, like December or next year or whatever. But then I guess in the fine print, like they're actually shutting down the payments and your ability to purchase before that date even comes. So like you may not have as much time as you think you may have to buy games digitally if you are into that type of thing. And I just, man, that's just couple that with like their recent like, okay, we're going to have exclusive Windows limited availability for a digital game, like the Mario thing that they did. That's so shady and stupid. Like
make it an NFT while you're at it.
Yeah,
just make it an NFT.
It will not surprise me if Nintendo tries NFTs because at this point, I'm just kind of like, what is really like? Is that? Listen, I don't know if it's just it's incompetency or greed or stupidity. I don't know.
Listen, Banshee showed up in my stream the other day, and she gave me the best definition for NFTs that I've ever heard of.
No fucking thanks.
I mean, that's a good one too, but no, it was non-functional testicles. I was like, that's glorious. Non-functioning testicles. I'm like, that's the perfect definition of NFTs. Thank you.
Anyway, I need to get that off to my chest because I read that this morning and that upset me.
It's very frustrating. This is one of the reasons, guys, by the way, why I like physical media so much. And nowadays, physical media doesn't mean nearly as much because, there's day one patches for everything.
Yeah.
And, that, like, for instance, to give you guys an idea, like Forbidden West, I've played the version before the day one patch, and it had a couple of issues that the day one patch addressed, which means that if somebody gets like the physical version and they don't update it, their experience, it's going to be a lot rougher than people who get that day one patch. That's for sure. But, yeah. So, next we have Danny asking about minigames idea on the village/hub for Sunbreak and future Monster Hunter titles, which is the minigames that you were talking about. Now, look, me, huge fan of the minigames in Monster Hunter, particularly the one for Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. That was the most fun one for me because it was actually, it's almost like a little JRPG thing where you'd have like this rock, paper, scissors system of like yellow beats red, red beats. It's almost like the friggin' Fire Emblem games, right? And you'd pick the certain type of palico to go on the quest, and then you would pick the attacks that they would use while they were going on. Like, that was cool. That was a good, cool game. The one with the cannon from Generations Ultimate, not nearly as interesting. And the Raiders and Meowcenaries that we got for World and Iceborne is just like not interesting at all. Like, I'll do it, but it's not interesting because it's just like, okay.
It's not a game.
Yeah, it's not a game. It's just like you send these out and they'll bring things to you. Like, I want the minigames. It's not a minigame.
I want minigames. Why don't we have a minigame that's like, make it optional so you don't have to do it, I guess. Yeah. Like, can you imagine like in Portable Third they had like the mining where you had like you send the cats into the mine. Can you imagine if there's like an optional minigame of just like the cat miners? The meowners or whatever they'll call it.
Meowners.
You get to play as the cats, and you go in there with like, you can have like weapon upgrades for your pickaxe. And you go in there and you're like ding ding ding. And there's like fun mini games with hitting stuff. Like, that would be fun.
So,
or just
you're
farming mini
so
games.
You're talking like,
I want to go.
You're not
deep.
even talking like about like something like I was talking about the little JRPG thing of picking it. You're talking about actual like a 3D level where you're going in with the palicos and mining stuff.
Yeah. We need mini games. There's too many cute themes and there's too many fun themes in the atmospheres that they make. Why aren't we interacting with the village more through mini games? Like, they made a great atmosphere.
I completely agree.
They can be simple arcadey little things like just, like press the button fast or time it right or just something stupid and fun, but just embrace the mini game.
Here's the thing, not even like they can be. It's like they should be. Like little fun, like arcadey things to do in between the hunt. Like, I think that would be really cool. Again, it needs to be optional so that if you don't want to engage with it, you don't have to, which I kind of feel like in 4 Ultimate and stuff, like those felt optional. Very much like Meowcenaries and Rise is optional. You don't have to do Meowcenaries. You get some bonus materials, but at the end of the day, it's whatever. So it's like it needs to be optional, but it also needs to be an actual minigame. Like what they've done for Rise and World is a huge disservice to that particular
just
system.
a menu thing.
Yeah.
That's just a small cutscene, not even a cutscene. That's like a small transition that you get through a menu. That's not even a game.
Yeah.
That's not a game.
Yeah, and those animations are so gorgeous. Like if you look at the World one where they're jumping off of the balloon and whatnot, it's like, oh, let's go! Like it's really cool.
Like, why don't they have a cooking game where your feline helps out the chef, and you do a fun little cute game? And if you do it, maybe it gives you like a plus 10% activation rate or something, or just something dumb and fun. Like, just like I would be so for it.
And again, you can skip it by using like the ticket or
Tickets
whatever,
or something,
the voucher
yeah.
ticket, and you just skip that whole thing. And it's like, no, I just want the food, maximum, boom, go. But yeah, I definitely feel like there should be more mini games like that. And some people might think, oh, is it really worth the development effort? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because again, it adds immersion, it adds cuteness, it gives, not every player chases the same thing. And I think that this is an important aspect for sure. I'm a huge fan of it. We're gonna wrap up on the next question here because Gaijin's about to fall asleep. I can see it in his face. He's really struggling. Like I have plenty of more questions, but we'll wrap it up here and we'll try to do some more questions next time. But this one is from Maddie Daddy Fatty. For people that started with World or Rise, do you think it's worth really pushing forward in the older games? Personally, he's trying 3 Ultimate. If the first 25 hours haven't been exactly fun, does it click eventually, or has the newer speed and stuff killed my chances of enjoyment? Specifically with Gunlance, I get stomped because it takes longer to lift the shield after an attack than what I'm used to. Yup. Trying other weapons
I think he went back too far.
He might have gone back too far. This is also coming from... Wait, let me just finish. This is also coming from enjoying Gen U a lot. So I'm surprised I dislike 3U so far. So it's like Gen U has a lot of things like in the forms of the styles and whatnot that can give you a lot of quality of life and can give you different experiences.
It's also like very accessible and sped up and more arcadey than even it's more streamlined than the older games.
Yes.
It's like I think I wouldn't be surprised if people like GU, but they don't like 3G. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's like the way that I look at it is so I came from playing Tri and then playing Freedom Unite and then 3 Ultimate and then 4 Ultimate and then Generations and then eventually World and Rise. So it's like I just have a different appreciation of the games because I've played the jankiest ones. It's like I look at it the same way as like people who played the original Final Fantasy VII. I think it's a very easy thing that there's tons of people who played the original Final Fantasy VII and they have a deep appreciation for that game. Like they really love it. Well, recently, I think it was like maybe 2 years ago. I don't know exactly when it was, but I recently played Final Fantasy VII because I wanted to go back and I wanted to play 7 and 8 because I have nostalgia for 8, but I wanted to play 7 first. Kegrin even donated so that I would buy it. So I started playing 7 and I did not like it. Like I liked the opening bit where it's kind of like linear. The moment they put me on the open world, I was just like, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea where to go. And it's like, eventually you stumble through and you start finding things. But the problem is also that I don't like that weird blocky arms art style that they got for the characters when they were in the... Like that just kills a lot of the enjoyment for me. And it's like, I understand that for a lot of people...
You're backing up my argument on why I'm not going to try Xenoblade. You don't like it's the visual thing. You got to like the visuals. You're turned off.
We'll talk about this later, gotcha. But it's like, I think that for people that have played the earlier games, I think they have a different appreciation of it. And obviously they're going to love replaying those games because they still remember them a lot more fondly than me. So it's like, for me or Gaijin going back and playing an older Monster Hunter, we'll probably be fine with it because we've played the older games to an extent. If you're coming from World and Rise, getting into 3 Ultimate is probably going to be considerably harder. Now, if the first 25 hours haven't been exactly fun, for starters, you're playing Gunlance. Gunlance is very hard to get into in the older games because the mobility of the weapon is just atrocious. It's really, really bad. So I'd recommend maybe trying a different weapon if you really want to, keep playing. Like maybe go for how's Sword and Shield in 3 Ultimate. Is that good? I would imagine it's pretty simple.
That was my second weapon after Lance. It was really good.
Yeah. So I would recommend trying Sword and Shield because that's usually in the older games. It's simpler. It's easier to get into.
But then again,
if it still doesn't click, don't force it. Like that's the thing. If it still doesn't click, just don't force it. Like you don't want to burn yourself out, particularly ahead of another Monster Hunter release.
I bought Monster Hunter 3U for Yuna, and where she's not playing it.
Yeah.
She said no thanks.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's like
we didn't even finish. We almost finished for you, but we didn't. Because it's like I'm exhausted. Okay.
Ultimately,
you got to taste it.
Yeah, ultimately, it's going to be about your own personal preference. So, like for instance, like I said at the start of the show, Lost Ark is a game that is currently being enjoyed by 1 million people in the West, plus people in Russia, plus people in the East. There's millions upon millions of people playing the game. I tried it out, and I just felt like it wasn't for me, so I'm probably not going to play it. It's like not every game is going to be for everyone. It's just if it's not fun and if you're not enjoying it, don't play it. Play something else. Because
25, but having experience in Generations Ultimate and the recent games mean that there's no major learning curve with what Monster Hunter is. Yeah. So 25 hours to me feels like, try a different weapon just because maybe the weapon you've always known and loved is just way too different. And if a second weapon doesn't click, I think, it's just don't feel bad about it. Like even I wouldn't go back and play 3U all the way through again. I don't think I would. I think it'd be too of a slog for me. Plus, I've already done it, and I've enjoyed it. But like it's quite a jump from like I call Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate kind of like old school style, and it pisses people off because it is actually quite different in many ways from like 4 Ultimate and 3 Ultimate. So it's not exactly the same. Like that's the intermediate jump. So I think those who enjoyed Iceborne and Rise, I think you can go back to GU and have fun. I think whether you can even 4U, I'm going to say, going back to 4U or 3U, whether or not you'd enjoy it, I think it's a toss. I don't know. It depends on the person.
Did he stop talking? Okay, so I'm sorry about this weird transition here, both in video and in audio. But what ended up happening in today's episode of the Third Fleet podcast was there was actually a power surge that pretty much shot our recording dead, and not only that, but it actually corrupted the recording file that we were using to record this particular podcast because when there's a power surge in OBS recording. Yeah, it took me quite a few hours to recover it, so I do hope that you guys enjoy it. But this was the last question that we're going to be doing in the podcast anyway. But that's going to be it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. Helps us out a lot getting through the YouTube algorithm. And Mama Susan likes her likes on the YouTube videos and all that. As per usual, subscribe if you enjoy the Third Fleet podcast so that you get notified. And also you can be expecting to see Elden Ring in the channel eventually when that comes out. There's obviously going to be links in the description as per usual for all things Gaijin Hunter. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe.
Happy hunting.